What's up everyone, it's Jessie and welcome to my video. Today I'm going to talk about things that I learned in college. Now I just completed 4 very hard but very wonderful years of college and I have a lot of things that I learned, so I'm going to share just a few of those things with you. Some of them might seem a little bit on the silly side, but I think most of them, I hope you guys take them to heart and I hope you guys learn and you get something out of this. So with that, here we go. First off, in logic class, I learned that you should really define your terms. It will save you a lot of time. In my freshman seminar class, we learned that we as humans often alienate others, or the other, and promote them either as gods or as monsters. So in other words, we take things that are kind of like labeled as the others and we raise them as like something above us, something to be worshipped, something to be praised, or we deem them as bad and we kind of like push them low and we push them as a monster and say that they're bad and that they're a monster. In ancient philosophy, we learned that according to Heraclitus, women are no good. We're no good. And we're also out to steal your barn. In American history, we learned that an unkept lawn is a sign of communism. Also, men having long hair is a sign of communism. A very clear-cut, obvious sign of communism. In quantitative analysis, this class kicked my butt by the way, I learned that you really shouldn't have too much pride to accept help. You need to accept help in this class, especially if you're struggling, especially if you're falling behind in your homework. You need help. In Arts Core, which is kind of like this arts appreciation course that I had to take, I learned that modern art isn't so much about skill or talent, but who did it first. Once I learned this, modern art suddenly made so much more, I don't want to say it made sense, but it made more sense. I could understand it better. In community mental health, I learned that talking about suicide does not increase the chances of someone taking their own life. So we can say the S word. We can talk about suicide. It's okay. It's not going to cause someone to commit suicide just because we talked about it. In fact, they're actually more likely to seek help, and we can start this conversation and we can give people more help. On the other side, I also learned that you just shouldn't date someone in your own major. In public speaking, I learned that mean people may be mean, but they still like kindness. The mean girl with no friends may show kindness to her if you show her kindness because no one else will. So the story behind this is that there was a girl in my public speaking class who was super mean. No one liked her. She was just downright rude. It was beyond the point of being obnoxious. And everyone kind of like ostracized her, and so she was just in retaliating and being even mean back. But I happened to be really kind to her and really nice to her, and eventually we became friends. And she eventually started reciprocating to me kindness, and she started showing me kind of like a different side of her personality. Now, I know that's not going to be true with everyone in that situation. There are some people that are just going to be mean for the sake of being mean. But what I'm trying to point out here is that even mean people like it when other people are kind to them. In Botsa zoology class, I learned that photosynthesis is ridiculously complicated. In my management course that I took, I learned that even if you had your favorite cuisine or the best caterers in the world, after eating their food for 3 times a day for 4 years straight, you'd be sick of that food too. So when it comes to question about food, it isn't necessarily the quality, but the frequency of the food that matters. In social psychology, I learned that self-handicapping is a real issue. Also, be careful of who you obey and why. With the power of the situation, people often feel compelled to obey past the point of their own moral values, and because of someone in power told them to. So the example that I'm thinking of is the Milgram shock study. If you want to look into something kind of creepy but also really cool, you should check that out. In experiencing music, I learned that to be a song, it must have someone singing in it, which is, good to know. In medieval philosophy, I learned that the summary of St. Augustine's My Confessions is, it's fun to do bad things. Just kidding. Although it kind of is if you think about it, if you really study it really is kind of like a summary of saying that it's fun to do bad things. You shouldn't do bad things, but it is fun to do bad things. Also, our teacher kind of like imprinted this like slogan in our minds that a bias against bias is a bias itself. So remember that. And in clinical and counseling, it is everyone is messed up. It's just some can articulate it and some can't. And last but not least, in my thesis class, I learned that you can't have freedom without responsibility. I'll repeat that once again because it's really important. You can't have freedom without having responsibility as well. And so there you have it. Those are some of the things that I learned in my 4 years of university. Obviously, I learned a lot more. It's just, those are some of the things that stuck with me, that come to my mind. There's definitely a lot of funny stories behind this that I wish I could explain, but I think some of them I'm just at loss of words for. So anyways, I hope you guys got something out of this, or maybe you just enjoyed it. Who knows? Anyways, peace. To obey past the point of their own moral values because someone else has the power to tell them to. This is the example that I'm thinking of is the Milgram shock study, if you're interested in learning more about something kind of creepy. And in experiencing music, I learned that in order for it to be technically labeled a song, it has to have someone singing in it. So piano music just by itself is not technically a song.